Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about how come some characters are really good and really strong offensively and do a ton of damage, and other characters kind of just suck. We're gonna be talking about damage. We're gonna be talking about numbers and skills, animations, number of hits, etc. I just want to shout out as well before we start to Zohak, who basically asked me this question in a way on Twitter just a couple of hours ago. He said, they said, what do you think makes a bad character / uniform? As you pointed out in your video, Black Panther has a ton of effects, frenzy buffs, extra crit damage, and he has accumulation. So why isn't Black Panther meta? And why is Cull Obsidian or Black Dwarf, why are they meta? Is it the number, is the difference just raw skill damage? Is it the number of hits on the skills? Is it a bit of both? And I answered by saying it is a bit of both, but there's actually a lot more to it. Admittedly, a lot of which I don't know the answer to, and I'll talk about why that is the case as well in the video. So there's actually a lot of information to talk about, and there's a lot of things to consider. Also consider the fact that some of the game to this day is still shrouded in mystery, and I actually want to just talk about that and chop that off the block at the top, at the beginning of the video at the top, because one, you're gonna have people who tell you, I know exactly how this game works, and they're gonna try to list it off for you, A to Z, how every single thing works in the game. They're gonna show you their damage calculation numbers. They data mine these things in the game. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because conventional numbers, when you apply them to every single character equally, they don't even out. And I have tons of examples to show you of characters whose damage would look very good on paper, and then turns out it's actually not good at all once you get into the game and you're actually fighting, because there's just tons of things that happen during the course of a fight in the game in Marvel Future Fight that the numbers just do not account for. They cannot calculate. They can't calculate targeting. They can't calculate necessarily chain hit, depending on the number of hits that land and the number of hits that don't land, especially with newer content where you need ignore dodge. There's just so many extra calculations, not to mention there is the gameplay factor that's always going to be a variable, right? How good are you at playing the character versus your device strength, lag, lost frames, etc. So yeah, I just want to dispel the myth that there is anyone out there who knows exactly how to calculate damage and exactly how much damage every single character is going to do in certain game modes. On top of the fact that I think it's to the benefit of the developers, and basically every game does this, that they don't tell us exactly how every single thing works, right? Even you take regular PC games, console games, they don't show you under the hood what's going on, right? They don't, when they released Miles Morales on PS4 and PS5, they're not going to tell you, oh, this Miles Morales skill does this much damage and this Miles Morales skill does this much damage. It's even more opaque and less transparent in a lot of games where it just says, damage low, damage medium, damage high, right? You don't even know what those numbers account for, but you're just given sort of a rough idea, but it's up to you, the player, to go and test it yourself. And that's part of the experience of playing a game, of course. That's part of the experience, and that's part of why content creators exist. It's not the whole reason, but it's part of the reason why, so we can go ahead and test things for you, and we can collaborate, and we can share all of this together as a community, and we have a place to share it on my channel, on someone else's channel, on a Discord server, etc., right? But these things are shrouded in mystery for a reason, for reasons, and so I don't really have all the answers. Gonna be perfectly honest with you off the top. Do I understand fully why Black Panther is not a very meta character? He's not a bad character. Someone in the comments said, Black Panther's trash, why can't you admit it? Guys, if Black Panther is trash, then what do you call Silk right now? Is there really a word that's going to take us from Black Panther to Silk, from trash to something? Super hyper omega trash? It just doesn't make any sense, right? A trash character is like Hogan, or Gorgon, or Lizard, or Hulkling. Those are what trash characters look like right now. Black Panther is nowhere near a trash character, but why is he worse than Captain America Falcon? Let's try to answer that question now. So the first thing you're gonna see, on top of seeing, passive effects, and on top of seeing tier 2 effects like increase this, increase that, crit damage, crit. Obviously, those things are going to have an effect, and they're going to increase the damage that you deal. You're also going to look at the damage percentage and other factors like buffs on the skills that are going to activate. So you can see here, this is physical damage 130%. This is physical damage 115%. This is physical damage 130% for Panther's Pursuit. So he's got all over 100% on these 3 skills. Normally, I just look at skills 5, 4, and 3. and then 6 if they have a 6th skill, because that is where the vast majority, 99% of characters deal 99% of their damage on 6, 5, 4, and 3, and that's it. And for even more, for 70%, 80%, it's really just on 6, 5, and 4 if they have a 6th skill. So you look at that percentage, but here's the thing, that percentage doesn't tell you even 10% of the story, because you're like, whoa, 240%, that's a huge number. Okay, so let's say you don't know how good this new Black Panther uniform is. Let's go ahead and take a character that's been in the game for years, right? Years. And let's take a look at some of his percentages and why the percentages are they are misleading, but they can be extremely misleading. Thanos, 230% on his alt. Whoa. We've got 114% here. We've got 144% here, and we've got 97 here. So his percentages are actually very close to Black Panther's, but it turns out that he's not a very strong character. He doesn't hit very hard. There are plenty of characters out there who hit way harder than he does. And then you go ahead and you look at another character like Crescent, and again, it just serves to confuse you in some ways. 170% on her tier 3, 150 here, 149 here, 151 here. Those numbers are way higher, and she's even worse than Thanos. So I've just showed you 3 characters who have increasing percentages of the damage, right? It's a physical damage percent of their physical attack, increasing numbers, and in actuality, when you play these characters, their damage actually, it goes Black Panther, Thanos, Crescent. Crescent's actually dealing the least amount of damage. So then you start to look at base stats. Crescent has 54,000 base physical attack. Thanos here has 51,000, and Black Panther's got 47. So again, I flipped the whole idea on its head. We just established that Crescent's dealing the least damage and Black Panther's dealing the most in this comparison, but Black Panther has the lowest physical attack, and Crescent's got the highest. It doesn't make any sense. So what's going on? So there's obviously a lot more to it than just those numbers, right? Because you have to consider the number of hits in a skill, and then you also have to consider a whole bunch of other things. So there's things like targeting, like how well does the skill target a moving enemy? How far away or how close to the target do you need to be in order to trigger the skill? Because this game is all about skill combos. So you can see, the potential damage for someone like Supergiant, if you can nail the full skill combo, is very, very high. If you can 6 cancel into 5, cancel into 4, cancel into 3. But if you cannot cancel those skills properly because she's really far away, she gets teleported, she loses targeting, she loses tracking on the boss, then the damage goes down the gutter, right? So there's all these things that you have to consider. So consider first, for example, right, we've got a certain number of hits on this skill. But on top of the number of hits on the skill, you have to further account for the fact that is the skill cancelable or not. So one thing we got really excited for with Black Panther is that as soon as he does his second hit, you can cancel his 4, and you're going to get that big finisher slash on his 4th, even if you combine it with another skill. Like this slash right here. Normally, that big slash, that extra damage, that would account for, and that would signal that you have a high damage character. But it doesn't really work out in Black Panther's case. Why? Well, one of the reasons why is it's just not that many hits, right? That there was 66 hits on 5 enemies. That means it's hitting like 12 times. That's nothing. 12 hits is nothing in this game. Good characters are starting at a minimum of 50 hits per combo, especially when they have even a small amount of chain hit damage. Right, so let's just isolate this one character here, and we'll do this combo again so you guys can see. So we are able to get how many hits here? Okay, we're able to get 20 hits on this guy. Sure, let's 20, but you minus the first 2, right? Because it so 18 hits. Okay, so you do this. So 18 hits plus. You can see it jumped up, right? He's barely scratching 50. Now let's go back and take another character, and I'll show you guys why this actually really matters in a big way for some characters, right? So you have a character like Beta Ray Bill. We're gonna take another character here, and I haven't even shown you the percentages on his skills. Okay, but we're gonna just isolate one character here, and I'll show you that just a 2 skill combo for some characters matters a lot more. Now in Black Panther's case, you don't really have anything more than a 2 skill combo. In Beta Ray Bill's case, the combo is actually 3-5-4. That's the full combo. And you can see there, it only reaches about 50 hits. There's more to the skill than just the 50 hits, But as you can see here, you're able to cancel, and even if you can only get those 2 skills off, you're still almost the same number of hits, right? But then when you go back and you look at the skill numbers, 103, 72, 79. So there's obviously more going on than just the numbers and just the number of hits. It's also how the hits can be combined. In Black Panther's case, he can only combine 5 and 4. In Beta Ray Bill's case, he can combine 3, 5, and 4. In Black Panther's case, there's also the sort of, again, difficult to track fact that his hits are really spread out, right? When you look at his 5th skill, it doesn't matter if I'm targeting one enemy or a lot, you can see that the hits are not concentrated, right? You start a timer and you stop the timer. When it's done, it takes multiple seconds for this skill to play out. So that is going to have a negative effect in some ways on the damage, whereas with someone like Beta Ray Bill, he stacks all of the damage in an instant for this crazy high burst. Again, I'm not sure how these bursts of damage synergize with chain hit, synergize with pierce, synergize with a damage proc, synergize with whatever, right? But they do. They really do, because you see it in characters like Moonstone, Moon Knight, Beta Ray Bill. They're able to concentrate a high number of hits and a high number of damaging skills all simultaneously, and it ends up paying them crazy dividends. Now, there are some exceptions to this rule. There's actually 2 that I've highlighted here, Ghost Rider and Captain America Falcon. Neither one of these characters exhibits what I just explained. They do not have a high number of hits on their skills. They do in a way, but they are also spread out. And again, this is why it doesn't really make sense to say like, oh, I know this character is going to be good, or I know this character is going to be bad based on how these skills animate. Because like Black Panther, right, Falcon's actually not going to get any hits on 4 and 3, and it's all going to end up landing on 5. Now, as you can see, there's a lot more hits on his 5, so you can definitely count that in favor of Captain America Falcon compared to Black Panther, right? But if we isolate this one enemy, you'll see that it's still not, you know, we'll see here before I get started here. So let's see how many hits this is. Okay, we had a little bit of interference here. So it's actually going to end up being fewer hits. Let's try to do this one more time without interference. It's such a wide scope of hits. Okay, so you can see here, it's very similar in the number of hits to Black Panther and in the duration, right? His 5th skill's really long. So why is Captain America Falcon hitting so hard and Black Panther's not? And I don't have an answer for you guys on that. There can be multiple answers. It can be because of buffs. It can be because of just secret, you know, there could be hidden values built into these skills. The damage could be balanced differently, where the damage is front loaded or back loaded. You can see it in some characters where, like, look how long his ultimate is, right? It takes forever. He's got one of the longest ults in the game, and it does huge damage. And then you look at a character like Sharon Rogers, also has a huge damage ult, but it happens almost instantaneously. So there's these things that you just can't calculate. But definitely, more often than not, if a character can cancel skills and combo skills together, and if they have a high number of buffs, including different types of buffs, so in this case, you have a frenzy buff, and you have an accumulation buff, and you have a damage proc. In this case, he has a 50% damage proc. That is generally going to lead to high burst damage. And in the case of a Beta Ray Bill, you see the same thing. You see that he has multiple skills that you can cancel. He has a frenzy buff, and he has a damage proc that he can pass. He only has accumulation on his 6th skill, but when you combine all those things together, he has essentially all of the same buffs and combo potential as Captain America Falcon does, and they both pass on their buff, their damage proc buff, onto their tier 3 skill, right? In the case of Ghost Rider, it's a little bit different, but, you know, in Ghost Rider's case, it's very difficult to compare him to other characters because he doesn't function like other characters, right? He doesn't have that many hits on any of his skills, and yet he does insane amounts of damage, and he really doesn't have many combos, right? Really, the biggest and the most consistent combo for Ghost Rider is 6 cancel 5 cancel 4, and with your regular rotation, you're probably going to do like a 2 cancel 5 delayed cancel into something else combo, right? But as you can see here, it's not that many hits. Again, it's maxing out around, that's actually close to 70 hits. That's a lot. But let's look at his 5th skill here. You do get a lot of ticks on the residual damage, but we're not sure how the residual damage gets calculated. Are those residual damage hits being calculated the same as the regular damage of the attack, or is it different? Take a look at his third skill. How many hits are here? Less than 20 hits. You're like, oh, okay, that's not that good, right? But you know how good Ghost Rider is. So then you go look at the percentage. 45%. Again, these things, 15 hits and 45% attack, that's garbage, right? Yeah, but he's got a 250% damage proc, right? So there's so many things that go into calculating what characters can do and can't do that ultimately the best advice I can give you is just test the character out and see for yourself, and test them without an obelisk if you can, right? If you have that possibility, test them out, and test them out in, you know, different content as well, because some characters, for whatever reason, like for example Luna Snow, she performs extraordinarily well in ABX and squad battle, and then she does not perform well at all in World Boss Ultimate and World Boss Legend game. Well, World Boss Legend game modes. She performs well in World Boss Ultimate, but in World Boss Legend she does not perform well at all compared to like her squad battle score, right? If you take a look at squad battle and you take a look at high Luna Snow scores, you're talking about 10 million, right? There are some players that can hit, there's 8 million there, but there are some players that can hit 10 million with Luna Snow, and that guy's got 9 million, right? I can hit 10 million with Luna Snow. I can also hit 10 million with Mephisto. Are those two characters equal? When it comes to squad battle and ABX, they're pretty close. But then you take them both into World Boss Legend, Mephisto is probably the best, or one of the 3 best characters for World Boss Legend. Luna Snow's not even in the top 10. She might not even be in the top 15 for World Boss Legend. So you have all these crazy variables that come into play that honestly, I don't really think it's worth trying to discuss and dissect from a purely technical point of view. And that's what I like about this game, is that you can't just look at the numbers and figure it out, right? There's so many characters that will seem really good on paper, but then you play with them and the targeting is all weird. For example, Blue Dragon's 4th skill, she just kind of weaves around the arena, and she moves around so much with this skill because it's got so much movement. You see how she pushes the mobs? That more often than not, she ends up pushing herself away from the boss, because these mobs are not static, they're passive, so they're not moving, so they're just whatever, they're gonna go with her. But in the case of Null, or in the case of other boss, that looks hilarious by the way, in the case of other bosses, they're gonna be moving against you in some cases, so she ends up flying by and missing the rest of her attack. You see that in other characters like Arrow. You know, it's not something that's that uncommon, and that definitely takes away from a character's final, or like efficient, or whatever, you know, average DPS. So yeah, I wanted to make this video to sort of break this down for you guys in a way, but also to say that, you know, A, I don't have all the answers 100%, and B, your best bet is honestly to just test the character out, right? Rather than just taking my advice, rather than just taking someone else's advice or someone else's anecdotal evidence. If you can, of course, test the character. I'm not saying you have to buy every single uniform, etc., but if you have it already, go ahead and test it out for yourself and see if you like it, see if it fits with your playstyle, and see if the damage is acceptable to you, right? That's why I'm not saying that Black Panther is terrible, because he's not terrible, right? With the proper rotation, with the proper gameplay, and with the proper positioning, etc., accounting for the enemy's movements, Black Panther's a decent character. He does have flaws, he could definitely be better, but that's kind of how the game goes. So yeah, hopefully this rambling 20-minute video hasn't bored you to death too much. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.